updated presence is that it's not the kind of thing where you complete the website and then don't do anything with it, but we're continually updating it. But now is we can reach out at this point and share it and get links up with all the communities, and we'll do that.
Thank you.
It's okay now, whatever you do.
Any other questions regarding the contact management upgrade? You want a motion?
First and second, yeah.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion to approve that purchase.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The second item from a marketing expenditure perspective is back in the fall, we did an RFP for professional services for lead generation outreach. We received the awarded bid went to the Elder Group, a company that has been doing outreach specifically in the dairy industry. The expenditure was $5,000. We have talked with them about expanding the industry landscape to be broader than just agriculture and dairy. It's difficult for us right now still to get out into the field. In particular, you can't cross the border. They have proposed $20,000 to expand their outreach across numerous industries that we select. We're going to reserve the ability to target different industries, and what we'd be looking at obviously are the ones that match up with our assets. So energy users, anything affiliated with the colleges and universities. We would continue to manage most of our cross-border lead solicitation work in-house, but while we're focusing on Ontario and Quebec, having the ability for a firm to solicit outreach and generate leads for us outside the backyard, so to speak, is I think valuable. In particular, as you know, we brought Bob Offeld in as a new business development specialist. Having a feeder mechanism to get prospects to him while we bring him in and get him up to speed, I think would be valuable. The other bid, we received response from 3 companies. One was $95,000. One said that they were doing similar work for another firm in New York State or another organization and chose not to bid. We've looked at the procurement policy as it relates to professional services, and in light of the pricing initially, in light of the other bid costs or bid prices, we've talked with Andy Silver, our attorney, and he recommends that if you so decide, we would be able to negotiate at the expanded interaction at this new price. And we recommend doing that, and we again, I leave it to discussion, but if there's an interest and a willingness to do that, we'd ask for a resolution and a vote on that as well. A motion and a vote, sorry.
Are there any questions on that? I will just say that.
Andy,
Go ahead, Andy.
Just a comment, it's work that obviously needs to be done. If we feel confident that Elder's capable of doing it at a fairly reasonable price, I'm fully supportive.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think that's why professional services are separated out in the procurement policy. So if we have somebody we're working well with, this fits the bill. So with that, how about a motion to approve a new $20,000, up to $20,000 contract with the Elder Group?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
A couple quick items. The New York State Economic Development Council is offering a virtual IDA Academy scheduled for April 13th. We've sent information out to everybody, and I believe 2 of our board members have responded that they are interested. I would just remind you, if anybody would like to participate in that virtual academy, please contact Lori. We can register, I think, up to 10 people for one set fee. Obviously, we're gonna have staff participation, but I think it's informative and a good opportunity for board members as well to see the presentations and understand the changing landscape as it relates to economic development and regulations and requirements on us. Lynn Blevins' reappointment is up, as is the process. The County Board of Legislators would look for a recommendation from this board if.
I move we make that recommendation right now.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The last.
I got one comment. May I comment now?
Yeah, go ahead.
This will be my last term. At the completion of my 3 years, I'll be 90 years old. Well, I think it's time to say, turn it over to you younger fellas. I'm serious. It will be my last term.
Well, we want your,
I make a motion that we refuse to accept Ernie's resignation at that time.
Yeah. But you're not in me here, so don't worry about it.
your experience and knowledge and expertise is invaluable, Ernie. Thank you.
I know, you can't go on forever, guys, and, I'm very serious. When you're 90 years old, I think it's, that's probably the record. I think I served maybe over 40 to 45 years as a member of the IDA, and I think, I'm starting to slow down a little bit, and, it's gonna be time.
Ernie, I hope I'm slowing down at 60 like you are at 90, just for the record.
Yeah, okay.
But
Thank you.
thank you. The last thing is, and as you know, we have a number of solar projects on the agenda today. One of the things for your consideration, the solar projects require a great deal of staff interaction and time. It may be worth looking at our application fee structure. As you know, our loans from the IDA LDC have a $100 application. Bonds, pilots, sales and use tax exemptions for the IDA have a $2,000 fee. In light of the amount of time and energy that goes into the solar projects and the ability to compensate the agency for that time limited to when these projects close, it may be worth increasing that application fee. I've talked with Rich and with Kim about this, and $5,000, while it's, it seems like it's a modest increase, it at least recaptures a little more of the time and expense that staff is putting in. We've approved 9 projects so far. 1 has closed. There's 8, as you see on the agenda today. It doesn't have to be something that is acted upon right now, but I would throw it out there just as something to and we are seeing at planning boards and building permits within some of the various municipalities, changing the application fees for different types of projects. And if you wanted a more comprehensive look at what other agencies are charging, we could certainly do something like that. But in the interim, moving it to 5 as new applications come in may be, I suspect, is justifiable.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to increase the fee to by $5,000.
Is there a second?
The second.
Any further discussion?
Is that a reasonable number?
You know, Brian, we think that it is. Like I said, I think as an interim step, we can do that, and then we can more closely research and review what might be going on in the rest of the state and in the region. But in the meantime, it's not, I don't think it's prohibitive to stop the pipeline of potential project activity.
Not recorded.
But it's a little, you know, it's in quantity, it's certainly enough to bring in more upfront offset to the time that goes into the early stages of the project development.
Okay, fine.
And,
And I think, Mr. Chair,
yes, Jim?
and I think, you know, we're gonna see more of these solar projects, come along. So, you know, it's important that we, have the, financial wherewithal to provide the services that we need to help bring these into St. Lawrence County.
Thank you.
It doesn't change
Um,
the actual fee.
My question would be, this would be for any projects coming in the door now, not affecting the ones that are already.
Correct, yeah, if somebody's
In our
applied, yes. And I would call it a renewable energy or energy project, not specific to solar, but
Sure,
that's where we've had some informal inquiry about wind in days gone by, but most of the activity obviously right now is in solar, as you guys know.
any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That is it for the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Does anyone have any old business they'd like to bring up? Hearing none, new business, we have, looks like 16 resolutions in front of us. I would ask that the first 5 be done as a consent agenda, which is the annual review of our code of ethics. Number 2 would be review of our compensation reimbursement and attendance policy. Number 3 would be review of the whistleblower policy. Number 4, review of the defense and indemnification policy. And number 5, deposition of real property policy and 2020 review of that property.
I would move that we do that, but I don't think you really need a motion. I think the fact that we're gonna do it and we did it, we just go ahead and do it.
Motion.
Forever and a day.
Yeah, that's a motion for all 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion by Ernie, second.
Brian, second.
Mr. Staples, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Someone
opposed?
new entered the conversation and didn't identify themselves?
Expect that, but you can-
Yeah, I think,
call, I was kicked call and I just called back in. Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, resolution number 6, authorizing Atlantic Testing Laboratories Limited project. Mr. Kelly?
We'll get it on the table.
Oh, yeah, do I have a motion?
So move.
I'll make one, baby.
Second by Andy. Patrick?
Thank you. I'll highlight from the project evaluation and cost benefit analysis. Atlantic Testing is a long-term company in St. Lawrence County. As I think everybody knows, they were started in 1967 by Spencer Thew. When Mary Jean Remington and her ownership team took it over, the IDA LDC was part of the financing. package a couple of years ago through the River Valley Redevelopment Agency and the IDA LDC. The company acquired a drill rig for its drilling division in Canton. That helped them go from 20 to 22 jobs. The IDA provided a sales tax exemption at that time for the acquisition of the rig. This is a similar project, only for for lack of a better description, bigger, better drilling rig. This one's on a rubber track. It is able to get into more difficult work environments. Has a low overhead and then almost an articulating crane. I will point you to Exhibit A on page 37 where the specific project details are. The request is for a sales and use tax exemption of up to $30,400. The total acquisition is $430,000. The benefited project amount is $380,000. This will help them add 2 more jobs to the drilling division in Canton. I don't think I need to belabor the virtues of ATL, but they professional, scientific, technical jobs. They recruit heavily from the colleges and universities locally. They are headquartered in Canton with over 60 people in St. Lawrence County, including the drilling division, over 250 across their 10 offices in New York State. I would just open it up for any questions or discussion, but I think it's a similar project to the one we did a couple years ago, and it's positive that they continue to grow.
And they're a very solid outfit, and they stayed with us all this time too. They could have moved once and didn't because we helped them.
Absolutely.
Very good.
And I think anything we do to reinforce the capabilities of their local operations is a good thing for St. Lawrence County and a good thing for the workforce.
I heard they've always met their targets for any work we've done with them, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And this certainly gives them more tools in their toolbox to work with, so I think it's a good project. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
This document that we were handed this morning with all these projects, with all these codes, shouldn't this really be confidential?
Ernie, it's a summary of the Paris information that is provided on our website, so it's already publicly available. It's just more of a
Okay, wow. All right.
Okay.
They don't come.
Yeah, I think that's part of doing business with a public entity. So.
Yeah, I know, but I was just saying, holy cow, as long as they approve, I have no problem, but sometimes they don't like this stuff out.
That's a good point. Resolution number 7, I'll take a motion to authorize updates to the personnel guidelines.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Second by Brian. Discussion.
As is our process when we do any personnel guideline changes within the employee handbook, it goes through the governance committee and then comes to the full board. The first revision was in 2013. There was another one in 2018. This is, you periodically look at the guidelines. The change here is moving the leave time policies for new employees based more on an annual amount per year as opposed to an accrual based on a pay period time. It's an update, a modernization, and it impacts the newly hired employees, not the existing ones.
So we had robust discussion in the governance committee about this, and the governance committee approved this change. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Let me ask another question.
go ahead, Ernie.
We've got a whole list of solar projects, right? Why
Yes,
don't we take them through?
I think there are some quirks to each one of these that we want to do individually.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah, there's some differences in them, so.
Okay,
Did we vote on that?
On the personnel, I don't think we did.
No, okay.
Made the motion.
All in favor?
aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 8, authorizing Blackwater Solar Partners Project. Motion?
Second,
Discussion.
All right, this is a project from EDF Renewables. It is 104 Horseshoe Road in the town of Oswegatchie. As you see in the resolution, this one is a 2 megawatt project. As you know, our process for these solar projects, which are a deviation from the standard IDA pilot schedule, is to seek the affirmative consent of the affected local taxing jurisdictions. That has been done in this project. We then bring it to you for your review and analysis. And in the review that we've been doing of the projects that are happening across the region and around the state, we've been trying to figure out the most fair and adequate, reasonable pilot values for these projects. Based on our latest assessment, and we've been at 4,250 per megawatt, with some sales tax, some modest sales tax assistance provided, with the idea that we did not want to provide sales tax exemptions in an amount that did not that overwhelmed the amount of.
It's town of Oswegatchie School District, correct.
Okay, and that we did not want to have sales tax exemptions provided that so dwarf the amount of revenue to the jurisdictions in light of the lack of direct job generation from these projects. So we've tried to take a measured and careful view as we analyze these projects and recommend to the board a level of assistance to provide. So with this one, the consent process went through at 4,250. However, based on our analysis of what is a quickly changing landscape of project activity, it appears as though a more reasonable regional going rate in our electricity territory is closer to 5,000 to 5,500. And all of these projects are unique. It is hard to boil down a single dollar figure to compare them one against the other. So we try to look at a range. We try to look at a number of different factors. However, when you look at the amount of sales tax that we recommend providing compared to what other projects have received, you can look at the various financial incentives and try to get as close to fair for the county, for the communities, for the school districts as possible. We sent information late last week to there's two sets of project developers. There's these first three, and then there's the second 5. We sent out information questioning where some other projects were coming in the region, and why the per megawatt levels were lower on the proposed pilots in front of you than what we're seeing happen in the rest of the region right now. Based on some discussions that came out of that inquiry to EDF, we are recommending that you amend the resolution as it's presented to say $5,000 per megawatt and provide sales tax exemption up to an amount of $10,000 per megawatt. So that would mean a change, as you look at this specific resolution, that would mean a change on Exhibit D from 4,250 per megawatt to 5,000, which would then trigger changes in the payment schedule accordingly. It would bring more revenue to the county, to the school, and to the town. And then also, on the, for the sales tax, it would be up to $20,000 in sales and use tax exemption provided. They had requested 18,000 per megawatt. Our recommendation to you is 20,000, is a total of 10,000 per megawatt for a total of 20. So essentially,
There's a difference between the first amount and the other amount, but is the formula the same for each one?
yes, yes. Yep, but the amount, we're recommending that you increase the amount per megawatt to 5,000.
I'm just saying that, when you first pick up the first one, 11,000, blah, 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 and you get up to 22,000. I'm just concerned we're using the same formula, even though they come out in different amounts.
Yes, it would be the same formula, but the numbers will change based on a higher per megawatt amount. But yes, the formula remains the same.
So I could explain, okay.
And I think, that probably provides us more justification for, updating our project fees, because
I
obviously.
don't have a problem, how I can explain
Right. So, these things are always evolving and changing. So, I just think we have to keep a close look on it
it.
and.
I agree. I don't have any problems with it.
Are there any other questions?
We will update the cost benefit analysis that was provided to reflect a higher number. I mean,
Right.
but essentially it's a mathematical issue.
All in favor? Well,
I.
hold on.
Of amending it, and then you're gonna vote on it, or is it?
Okay. How about a motion to amend the resolution to increase the fees to $5,000 per megawatt and up to $10,000 in sales tax?
I move the amendment.
Is there a second to the amendment? Brian, any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor of the amendment? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the amendment? Hearing none, the amendment is approved. And now we'll go back to approving the original motion as amended.
The amended one.
Correct.
We're gonna, the amended one.
Yes.
So if we approve the amendment, now you have to approve the amended resolution.
Right, that's what we're doing.
Okay.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 9, authorizing Royal Solar Partners project. Motion,
So move.
second?
Second.
Discussion.
This is another one from EDF. I won't go into any great detail other than to say this is a 5 megawatt project. We asked for the same amendment for 5,000 per megawatt and up to $10,000 in sales and use tax exemption provided per megawatt. It would be the same changes in the same part of the resolution. So it's the exact same process, only this one is a 5 megawatt project on 34 acres at 5693 County Route 6 in the town of Oswegatchie.
Okay, a motion on amending the resolution to include $5,000 per megawatt and $10,000 in sales and use tax exemptions.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, motion to approve the amended resolution. So we have the motion, we need to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Resolution number 10, authorizing Ruler Solar Partners project. Motion? We have a
So
motion?
move. I mean,
Yep, second?
This is another, did you get a second?
We got moral, yeah.
Okay, this is another 5 megawatt project. This is on 38.5 acres at 5704 County Route 6 in the town of Oswegatchie. Same process, instead of 4,250, the number would be 5,000. And then the sales tax you're authorizing, instead of being up to 90,000, would be down to 50,000. So it's the very same company, similar size project, different location, same process for the amendment.
So I need a motion to amend the original resolution.
so move.
Second?
Okay.
Second. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll vote on the original resolution. All in favor? As amended. Yeah, amended resolution, correct. Thank you, Ari. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Can we do the rest?
Yeah, the next 5, Madrid, Solar 1 and 2, Stockholm Solar, Waddington Solar, Oswegatchie. We had, as I pointed out earlier, we had a discussion with EEF where we sought further information and clarification on that 4,250 per megawatt amount. That subsequently we discussed moving to 5. I know we have some folks from Nexamp on the phone. We had a similar request to them. They provided information to us last night at about 20 after 5. My recommendation is that you table these 5 so we have the opportunity to review or more carefully what they've provided, and then bring it back at a future meeting, either at some recommended level.
So we need a
I
motion.
move the table.
Is there a second?
Second, can I, we have a discussion, is it possible, if we move this to table, it's not, I'm asking the question, it's not necessarily tabled to our next monthly meeting. It is, I'm asking, it would be tabled until we had enough time to evaluate it, and then we could have a particular meeting if it were necessary in terms of time constraints for them.
That is correct.
A motion to table is not debatable.
Okay, sorry.
I hate to be bothered, but that's a fact. Andy, can I
I was unfamiliar with that, I'm sorry.
Andy, can I ask you a question?
Would you,
I wondered, the project, the solar thing that's been in discussion in Messina, where does that stand?
I'm still working on it. That's 180 megawatts, so significantly bigger than the ones we're talking about today, but yeah, it's still moving along.
That's 3 towns involved, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was asking about that the other day and I wasn't sure. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, we have a motion and second to table. All in favor of tabling these 5 resolutions?
Say aye, aye.
Aye. Okay, they're tabled. Next, last resolution is accepting our fiscal year 2020 audit. Motion,
So moved.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Andy. Discussion.
Your 2020 audit, Mark reviewed earlier with the committee met, no findings, a clean audit. Just one thing to note, in the coming meetings, you will have a budget modification, which will adjust our 2020 budget to the year-end numbers. If anybody ever has any specific questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I can answer those for you.
Thank you, Kim. Are there any questions for Kim? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting the 2020 fiscal year audit, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our 2020 annual Paris report. Mr. Kelly.
It's that time of year again where we do our financial and our project review of each of the projects.
Now exiting, name not recorded.
I'm gonna, Ryan and the Nexam folks, if you want to stick around, obviously you're welcome to listen to our project overview and our summary report. I'll give you a second so we don't have all the departure notices hitting us as we're trying to talk.
I want to listen to what you got to say.
All right, moving forward, the Paris report is ready in draft to be submitted. The project review for each project, I will go through with you right now. There are 25 projects that we are reporting on this year. The first one, AJ Mizert Warehouse Project, that is the 6,400 square foot addition to the
I'm sorry, but I have to leave. Something just came up.
Okay,
Okay, thank you, Ernie.
Thanks, Art.
Have a good day. Have a good Easter, everybody.
You too.
You too, Art.
You too.
Now exiting,
Ernest James, back.
This is in Ogdensburg. There was a 29,000 square foot facility. They put a 6,400 square foot addition on. They are in the second half of a standard pilot, so they're making 50% payments on the improvements. So that is $8,431 of pilot payments were made. That is the equivalent mathematically of adding $150,000 to the tax roll. There were 21 jobs prior to the project. It was a retention, not a creation project. They are at 22 for a net gain of 1. The project has been complete for a number of years. It ends in 2023, so it's well into the second half of the pilot. And unless people have questions, I'll just move down through the list. Amtech Yarns, that was a $3.7 million project. The benefited amount was about $685,000. Their goal was to create 9 jobs. They have created 10. This was an empty building that the River Valley Redevelopment Agency had acquired in the Messina Industrial Park. It's lot 18. The company acquired that building through a lease purchase with the RVRDA and IDA LDC, and also put on a 3,600 square foot addition with approximately 40-foot ceilings,
42.
42-foot clear height for their piece of their nylon and yarn extrusion equipment. It is in the first half of the pilot, so no pilot payments were made. There's an exemption that benefits them to the amount of $20,118. Anson Corporation, Proctor Ave expansion, that was Anson's acquisition of a 40,000 square foot building in the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority Commerce Park. They projected creating 30 jobs. They are at 27, so they are 3 below the projection. This project puts $450,000 of assessed value on the property, on the tax roll. I will point out that the Bridge and Port Authority buildings that they lease to private businesses do not generate any tax value. So if a company leases a building for 100 years from the Bridge and Port Authority, it never goes on the tax roll. This project, in addition to the job creation, specifically benefits the county, the city, and the school by putting through this pilot process a building assessed at $450,000 onto the tax roll that otherwise never would have been on the tax roll. So our recommendation is, in light of the benefits, the range of benefits that project provides, that the job number, while being close, not quite at 30, obviously there's still meaningful benefit happening from that project. Corning, we have 3 Corning projects that are active right now.
Patrick, how many jobs does Anson, have in Ogdensburg now?
Do you have that?
We can pull it.
We'll pull up that total number, Jim.
Patrick, this is Andy. Will they achieve those 3 jobs? Or this is just the way the project's gonna go?
You know, Andy, they're a contract manufacturer. That is a specific site for larger scale projects of theirs, as opposed to their primary building, which is more surface mount kind of work and smaller scale assembly. When they acquired the building, they had a large customer out of Syracuse. That customer was acquired by a different company that moved some of its production in-house away from Anson. They have adapted and have sought out new business, and I expect they'll continue to do that. Obviously, it's a very competitive environment. So I think it's going to be every year will be a year-by-year analysis.
Okay, thanks.
Corning, the 3 projects, we report the jobs under project 4001-14-02. That's the second of the 3 on our reporting list. Corning had 234 jobs at the outset of that project. They projected to create 40. They're now at 284, so they're meeting their goals. That project put about 40,000 square feet of new production and warehousing space onto the facility. And they are starting their pilot payments in the first of the second half of that pilot. They made a school pilot payment in 2020. So in 2021, they'll be making full 50% payments on that portion. The 2018 expansion represents about 9,800 square feet of new construction, as well as 4,400 square feet of renovation. They are in the first stage of that pilot. And then the 2019 project, the newest, was the 16,000 square foot addition to their mason shop, and 4,400 square feet of other renovations internally. Again, that is a project that was wrapped up last year. It's in the first half of the pilot, and they utilized about $12,000 of the sales tax exemption we had provided to them. So again, we have 3 different projects. We report the jobs on one of them. I think the expansions and the activity at Corning over the last 5-10 years are an unqualified success for the county. The next one that I'll look at, Cristicello and Cristicello from the Hart Cabinetry. They just moved into the Potsdam Commerce Park building, or they just entered their lease purchase in 2020. They had 5 jobs prior to the expansion. They projected creating 3. They are now at 9. And again, this is another project that through the course of the pilot will put the building onto the tax roll. And you'll recall, we built this building in 2007. It's primarily, we've had short-term tenants. We've had some start and stops in the building. This gives it a long-term, full tenant use, owner. And they're already meeting their job requirements. Current Renewable Energy, this is the pellet facility. It represents approximately 45,000 square feet. This is the building the series of buildings that were the vendor to General Motors. One was built as a spec building. Couple others were built for the GM vendors back in the early 2000s. The bond is approximately half paid off. There's 36 jobs at the facility. The jobs to create figure says 50. Way back when this was first entered in 2005, it was done erroneously. It's supposed to be 23. We don't have once you enter some of these data fields, you're not able to edit them or to change them. So it shows as being 14 below goal. It's actually 13 above what it should be. And they made their pilot payment of $67,531, as agreed. Kim, this is just the breakdown of the new
You
building.
want the overall?
Yep.
146.
What's that?
146.
Okay. DeFelsco, any questions on current renewable energy?
Did they have a better year this year than they have? I know a couple of years ago.
But, their year is driven by seasonality. Yeah,
Right.
65 degrees in March even the end of March is really not what they're, in as much as it's a fuel and heating business, renewable, such as it is, it wasn't as bitter cold of a winter as some, when you get those degree days where it's, 10 below for 2, 3, 4 days in a row across the Northeast, that certainly draws down the inventories faster than a milder winter. And I'll point out that pilot, you'll see, it says property tax exemptions, 67,000, pilot payments made, 67,000. Some of these, the way the Paris program works is it asks for what the full exemption would be, or is, and then the pilot payment offsets that exemption. So in some, you'll see the pilot payment is half of the exemption. That's because it's in that second half of our pilot. The other scenario is you'll see nothing for a pilot in the first 5 years of a standard project. And then this is a unique one where it's where it matches up. That's because there is while we gave them a 10-year standard pilot, we're still entitled through the bond on that project. So until 2037, they'll continue to make pilot payments, but those payments will equal what the taxes would be due on the project if there wasn't IDA involvement. So it's essentially a pilot payment that is a full tax payment. DeFelsco, 60 jobs prior, they projected 15, they're at 82. This was the headquarters expansion in the Ogdensburg Commerce Park. The building is done, it is complete. It's very highly visible, very, very attractive building right on the busiest corner of the Commerce Park as businesses come off the bridge. They are not yet in their pilot payment portion. That will kick in 2021. As a part of this project as well, A.N. Derringer acquired a separate building in the Bridgeport Authority Park. And that building, though not directly part of this project, is also now on the tax roll indirectly because of this at an assessed value of $400,000. So in addition to the $1 million that will be added to the tax base through the pilot, there's a secondary building as well. So there's obviously for the communities in the jurisdiction, some additional benefit. Fakler, they are a tenant in half of the Lot 19 building in the Messina Industrial Park. They are in the second half of their pilot, so their pilot payment represented half of what the taxes otherwise would have been on half of the building, so that's what that 5153 represents. Their jobs were at 7, they projected to add 5. They are at 7.5, so they are below the job threshold. Fakler, obviously in Messina, is a vendor to Alcoa and Arconic. They are impacted as Alcoa and Arconic's operations are impacted. So as they've downsized, it has an impact on their business. They've lost some employees to a number of other employers in the area, some private, some public. We continue to work with them. I think in light of the variables impacting their business, them having not laid anybody off and still being slightly above where they were at the outset of that project is reasonable. High Peaks Winery.
Now exiting, name not recorded.
The Pickle Street expansion. This was a small winery project in Winthrop. They are making 50% pilot payments as they're in the second half of the pilot. At this point, the assessed value added is $111,000. The impact of the 50% pilot payments is like adding $55,000 to the tax roll right now. This was a small project. Matt is the entrepreneur. He projected creating 1.5 jobs. He's added a half a job. So he is 1 job below the goal. Again, I think running a winery in the pandemic is an accomplishment in and of itself. We continue to work with Matt, and I don't see any. I think the effort is being made to meet the terms, even though he's 1 job below. And I guess that's the best way to state it. In-Law Brewing Company, this project just started. The only portion of the project that we provided incentive to in 2020 was a mortgage recording tax exemption. We will be working on the sales tax and pilot in 2021, which we will report separately. We have 2 LC Drives projects. They are both USDA. One is an R Rural Development Enterprise Grant. One is a Rural Business Enterprise Grant, where, as a reminder, we sought out grant funds through the USDA to acquire equipment on behalf of LC Drives, which we then lease to LC Drives. They pay us back at 0%, and we can utilize the proceeds for our economic development purposes. As people I know reading the paper, they are well above. We had at the time, there were 6 jobs initially. They were planning to create 10. We're reporting them at 86.5 full-time equivalents. You'll hear different job numbers. We backed out interns and other we did not consider direct employment. And we report on one of the projects, the jobs. The other one, we don't want to duplicate, so you'll see whenever we have multiple projects, we typically try to either match the job performance to the project specifically or just report on one. Lawrence Ave Community Partners, this is the 137 affordable multifamily units at 3 Deborah Drive. It was a $15 million bond. They were going to they had 3. They're at 3.5. I believe it was a retention. I think my notes are we'll have to double check on that, but they are they have completed the renovation. The buildings are complete. We have pictures, of the finished product. Certainly a significant improvement in the appearance and the upgrading of that facility. New York Power Tools, they are acquiring through a lease purchase agreement another building in the Messina Industrial Park. That's lot 17, that the IDA had acquired. They are in the second portion of their pilot, so they're making half payments. So they made a payment of little over $11,000. It's a 20,000 square foot building, that's going on the tax roll. I think one of our goals through the infrastructure and the building projects in the various industrial parks in the county is to utilize them as tools for attracting commerce and jobs, but also for building the tax base. So hopefully through this report, you'll see the Potsdam Park, the Messina Park, Ogdensburg, that work is being accomplished. North American Forest Group, the phase of this project ended in 2019. We're closing it out in 2020. It was a sales tax exemption. They are still in the equipping stage for that project. I think we'll have a new project to report on in 2021 through the Northern Border Regional Commission acquisition of equipment for them. So there'll be a new one in 2021. North Country Dairy, same thing.
Now exiting Kennedy Track.
Ended in 2019. We'll be closing that out this year, but they were at 73 jobs. They were going to create 17. They're at 104. So they have exceeded their goals. Optech, now US Ecology, another Messina Industrial Park project. They are down on their jobs. They were at 39. They projected creating 19. They're at 49, so they've added 10 jobs. They are making full pilot payments. So there is, the ability, at this point, it's a 15-year lease purchase. They've gotten through the incentive period, and they're now making those pilot payments that equivalent to full tax payments. So I see no path of action for us on that. And they rebranded as US Ecology this year. It had been Optech, then NRC, now it's US Ecology. Pacey's, this was a bond.
That's because it's a pandemic thing that they're not doing their jobs.
I think it's a business, I can't tell you how much to attribute to overall state of the economy versus pandemic. And what I mean is, it is hard. I'm looking at Pacey's. That's an easy one to attribute to the pandemic because it's a college affiliated operation. With something like Optech, I am surprised across the portfolio how strong the employment and performance numbers are in light of the pandemic. So the fact that most of them have exceeded their goals. Many are those that haven't are very close. In light of the ups and downs because of the pandemic, I'm very pleasantly surprised by that, I guess I would say.
Yeah, and I am too. It's just with Optech nearby.
Yep.
I was asking more about a Messina resident, hoping that a local business was doing well, but it's worth noting that, not all the job numbers have lined up, but many have lined up above where they said they were going to deliver. So I think we've done well, but we'll keep an eye on the ones who haven't and do what we've got to do.
And that's, Andy, yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
did you use the word equivalent?
I don't know. I may have.
I've never heard the word before. Never mind.
But to Andy, to your point, and one of the issues is with a long-term project. So for example, this one is a lease purchase. It was a 20-year lease purchase, 15 or 20 year. One of the things that happens, the business cycles are so much shorter and faster now than they were even 5, 10, 15 years ago. And with a company like this, as I pointed out, they've had 2 ownership changes. So, we have a company that we have a project with from 2000, 10, 13, 5, whatever, some of these longer term projects, they get acquired by a company, then that company gets acquired, the ownership changes. One of our responsibilities and one of the efforts we try to make is to get in front of each new successive ownership group to make sure they understand the history, the obligations, what they're supposed to be doing. Obviously, some of that outbound work, that direct contact work was challenged in the pandemic, but it's still, it's in a case like US Ecology, that's something where part of what we need to do is get in front, make sure that they're aware of the relationship and find out, if for no other reason than just for the economic development value of having the relationship and knowing what their business conditions are. Moving on to Pacey's, you'll see on this one, it's a bond, they're in repayment. This is, typically they meet their job requirements, they are down this year. They report full-time jobs, they report part-time jobs, they have student and seasonal jobs. Obviously, with the impact of COVID on campus operations, it's not a surprise to us that they are below their job goal this year. And I think that's being mindful of the world around us. We'll see as we move forward into next year where they are. But I think everybody understands a business that is driven, providing dining hall, college store, vending service, and other administrative support to what is primarily an on-campus learning institution, is going to be challenged to meet its job goals when many of the students are off campus right now. Rushton Place, this was a mixed-use project in the village of Canton. Final year of reporting, they had a small portion of the project that came into last year. They made full pilot payments. I'll point out on this project, one of the benefits, and this was not a big job project, but through the Rushton Place project, $748,000 of new assessed value went on the tax roll. So there was a pre-assessment of around $212,000. The current assessment is somewhere around $1 million, and the net increase is $748,000. That's through the commercial space, and then as the condos have been acquired and have gone on the tax roll, we don't do a lot of projects like this, but in the final analysis, that's a meaningful impact that I would like to point out to everybody. St. Lawrence Gas, this was the gas line expansion into Franklin County, which provided gas service to some of the larger institutional operations in that area. It supported the 49 jobs in Messina at St. Lawrence Gas, Enbridge, now Liberty Utilities, another acquisition example for you. They're now at 55 jobs, so they're meeting their goal. The pilot payments that were made this year were $211,000. That represents about $5 million of added value to the tax base. So I think certainly successful indicators on that project. Quarry Potsdam, $15 million benefited amount, projects creating 2 jobs. They are in the construction phase right now. They closed on the project in 2020, was our first year to report. That is the 88,000 square foot old Snell Hall facility. It's an adaptive reuse and affordable housing project. They made no pilot payment in 2020. They made one already this year through that somewhat unique pilot schedule. What I want to point out on this one, we approved a mortgage recording tax exemption for a $15 million mortgage, which adds up to, which translates to a $112,500 mortgage recording tax exemption. When we do our annual reporting with them, they indicated that they claimed a mortgage recording tax exemption of $138,906. So you authorized $112,500, they
Now
utilized,
exiting Cliff Canada.
they utilized $26,406 more. We are working with them on their sales tax numbers to make sure that we have the accurate reporting, because as we look at these every year, we want to make sure, number one, that nobody exceeds what they've been authorized for. So we've reached out to them about this year, because because of the amount of sales, and they're under their sales tax. However, in light of what you approved and what they utilized, there's a couple of potential paths you could take. One is that there's limited paths that you could take. They use more than you authorize. The recommendation of your staff is that we reach out to them and notify them, request that they reimburse the county or send the funding to us to then go to the county for that excess that they utilize. If they fail to do that, then it becomes a recapture event, and we move forward legally to enforce that they make that payment. I think the preference is we reach out, we say, obviously there was an oversight here, here's what you were approved for, here's what you did, please make amends. I'd ask the board for direction, though. I'm assuming that's, I suppose the alternative is saying, well, yes, it's higher than we approved, but, if they come under on sales tax, or if there's some extenuating circumstance, we have tried to move to as much clarity as possible through our resolution approval and documentation process to remove the ambiguity. I would say in a case like this, it's pretty clear the number was $112,500. I don't know that there's many contortions that one could go through to change that at this point. But
I think we're asking for the difference.
Yeah, this is a deviation, but let's start the conversation with them. I think we've got to recapture.
Yep. And I assume that would be the intent. We will reach out to them. We will demonstrate and explain to them the scenario. Should there be an issue, we'll bring it forward at a future meeting. Normally, we have had other projects. Usually you see a sales tax that sometimes it may exceed, and we have recaptured that before. With most of our projects, we try to have the kind of relationship and transparency with them where they understand, what the requirements are and why we're asking for it. I would be surprised if this becomes a problem, but I wanted to put it in front of you as soon as we identified it. United Helpers Management Company, this is the bond for over at the independent living facility. They have 36 independent living apartments. This project is in repayment. They are at the job. They've met the job goal. Project ends in 2025. I don't really have a great deal of information to report to you on that one. The last one is one that we want to add, which is we have Michaels Corporation, as you're aware, leasing 8,870 square feet of space in this building. We are not providing them any financial benefit. There's no pilot. Their lease includes a pilot payment that equals the taxes. It's a short-term lease for 2 years. But we think we should report it as a lease and report the lease revenue. Again, no sales tax exemption, no mortgage recording tax exemption, no direct IDA benefits provided. But we're going to add this to this year's report as a lease for the next, while they're in here for the next couple of years. So as you know, this is a final summary. These are probably the important numbers. Prior to IDA involvement with this set of 25 projects, there were 641 jobs. The companies across the portfolio projected they would create 248.5 jobs as part of the project documents. We are at 910.25 jobs if you add everything up, which puts us about 20 jobs above the goal. 269 jobs have been added through the course of these projects. 366,867 square feet of space will be added to the tax roll as these pilots end and the projects become full on the tax roll. Currently, that represents about $28.4 million in assessed value. So that's new assessed value going to the tax roll. At this point, with where we are in the various pilots, about $9 million in assessed value has been added to the tax roll. So those pilot payments that are being made reflect a value of about $8.9 million. We provided around $700,000 in sales and use and mortgage recording tax exemptions. And some of these numbers we're going to finalize. I mentioned Quarry Road as an example, making sure that we have the right numbers for them for their sales tax. Property tax, the total value of the property tax exemptions is about $1.6 million, with $364,000 in pilot payments being made. So that is my overall review to you of each of the various projects within the portfolio. Anson, Jim, is at about 150 jobs in Ogdensburg total. To your question earlier. So I guess we've sort of discussed this, we've gone through this. This is what is reflected in that Paris reporting document that is up on our website. But if people have questions, certainly we'd be happy to discuss them with you.
I'd just like to say it's an incredibly valuable tool, the whole spreadsheet, and how you've reconciled all these projects into one spreadsheet. I mean, the details in the rest of the Paris report, but that's a great overview for us and very easy to follow. So it's greatly appreciated for me. And any other comments from the board?
I think it's a real testament to our staff that, during this pandemic, that we've been able to do so well at, helping, to expand the tax base and, improve the economic climate here in the county.
Certainly, it's been a unique year. It's been a challenging year in a lot of ways. And I've said this numerous times, the staff have been adaptive. They've been flexible. They've been responsive. And I second your comments that moving these projects forward, and we're going to do the performance review in a moment that we're sending that goes along with this report. I mean, in fact, I'll segue into that now, if that's
Sure.
okay, because the first half of this report is all about COVID-19 assistance. So while trying to generate project activity, while trying to assist in keeping the pipeline moving, we also had our hands full during the year trying to help the employer base, for-profit, not-for-profit, institutional, and sometimes even governmental, understand the quickly changing landscape as it related to COVID guidelines, COVID regulations, reopening essential businesses, the incentive programs. You'll see the first few pages here, like I said, are all devoted to specific activities that related to COVID. And this will ultimately, along with the reports for the LDC, CDC, and PDC, go to the County Board of Legislators once we submit everything in the next day or so. It was a busy year. And it was busy, and like I said, had you said to me a year ago that we'd have the impact of a global pandemic on the economy, that we'd be in the kind of shape we're in now, which is imperfect, certainly not, we're not throwing any parties, but certainly the resiliency of the businesses and the employers was astounding in light of everything that they were faced with and continue to be faced with. So I'll point out in that review, which I know you all already have, the COVID portions, the first couple pages, then we highlight some project activity, including Quarry Potsdam, In-Law Brewing, the work with North American Forest Group, a number of other smaller projects. And this IDA one does not include many of the loans that we made directly. This is more specific to IDA work. The projects that went on the tax roll during the year, the new projects that were undertaken. It was a wide-ranging year of activities, and hopefully it portends well to a busy year this year and beyond, as some of the pent-up demand from projects that didn't get underway that may have otherwise happened. Any questions on the performance summary? I mean, I think it's clear through the activities that the goals and mission were certainly kept under mind and worked toward and in many ways accomplished during this strangest of years.
Great job. You're very positive.
Yeah, and I just want to point out here and congratulate Patrick on his appointment as chairman of the New York State Economic Development Council. That definitely expands our portfolio across the state. I think it's a nice accomplishment and should be recognized.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments on the mission and performance report? Hearing none, do we have a need for an executive session?
We do not.
We do not.
Let me defer to the staff before I say, is there anything I'm forgetting or missing? No, we do not.
Okay, we're missing a motion to adjourn. No?
Hold on. Do we need a motion to accept those reports?
They're more for review. I don't think we need an official resolution. I think just to make it clear in the minutes that we reviewed them, that I think everybody understands them. I'll point out, this is the next year you'll see some of these solar projects and others. So this is something that each year it becomes cumulative. So hopefully 25 for a county our size is probably a pretty fair number of projects to be involved with, not even counting any through the Civic Development Corporation or the Local Development Corporation. And ideally we'll bring more and more in front of you in the years to come.
With these solar projects, looks like we could probably easily double.
Potentially, yeah.
So. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy Easter.
Yeah, enjoy the spring.
Stay safe and we'll see you soon.
Now exiting Jordan